Hey everyone, welcome back to the workshop. Artisan Pirate here, and in today's fun scroll saw project video, have a creative Halloween design from Steve Good. It is a newer pattern from his in 2024, so please be aware of that if you want to go download it and print it out and try it out in your workshops. I've already got the pattern printed out to its full size, prepped, and attached to our material with clear packing tape, and the material in question is going to be some upcycled half-inch construction grade plywood. And please be aware that when you print this project out, it is a bigger pattern, so it's going to take up 2 pages, and what you do is simply cut on the dotted line and line the 2 pieces up to the best of your abilities when attaching it to your material. I have done that here, but please keep in mind, if you are just ever so slightly off, you can potentially blend those lines together once you are over at the scroll saw and you are going through the scrolling process, so please be aware of that. The design has a lot of the classic Halloween imagery in it, so a really cool design by Steve Good. It has a classic Halloween skull here. You guys know, being a pirate, I love skulls, logos, and stuff like that with skulls in them. It is wearing a nice big witch's hat here. You have a little creepy mouse off to the side, and at the base it says Happy Halloween in a nice font that Steve offers. And you can see here on the pattern he suggests that you cut this out of 1/4 inch material. I have just interpreted the design in a different way and opted to make it out of thicker half-inch material. And for the backer board, I've got a piece of 3/4 inch construction grade plywood that was actually laying out in the yard. I brought it in from all the rain and I sanded it up real nice and let it dry. So hopefully once we make this the backer board and attach the material to it, it'll give it a nice rustic and spooky Halloween vibe that I'm hopefully going for once we get to the finishing stages. But you guys know that I love bringing the Halloween scroll saw projects to life over here on the channel, and since everything is pretty much prepped and prepared, let's move the camera over to the workbench, drill all the pilot holes required so we can step over to the scroll saw and start scrolling. Let's get started. And over here on the workbench, I'm taking the Seiko scroller's drill and drilling out all of the pilot holes for internal cutting. And there is several on this project, and you will note that I have a backer board behind the scroll work to prevent blowout of the pilot holes on the reverse side. But now we are over at the scroll saw and beginning the work. And for all of the scroll saw work on this project, I'll be using a number 5 Ultra reverse tooth blade, and it will cut through the half-inch upcycled construction grade plywood here exceptionally well with minimal chip out. Beginning with some of those smaller cuts, like the word happy here and Happy Halloween. And that is a general rule of thumb with any scroll saw project you come across. Begin with those smaller and delicate cuts before proceeding to the larger ones, because the more material you remove from a piece, the more fragile that piece will become as you continue to remove waste wood from it. If you guys would like to try this pattern, it's available as a free pattern download over at Steve Good's scrollsawworkshop.blogspot.com website over in his free pattern catalog. And it's one of his newer 2024 designs. After we get done with this cut here, we will switch to a close-up view of the action, and you will see how small some of these internal cuts here are, especially all of the teeth and the skull's creepy smile here. I'm just taking my time with all of them, being as loyal as I can be to the cut line. And with small cuts like this, it seems like it takes longer to rethread the blade through the pilot hole and retension it than it does to do the actual bit of cutting on the internal cut. But again, just taking my time here. I've got on some good music and I'm lost in my world of sawdust and just knocking out all of these little teeth. All in all, it takes me around 40 minutes to scroll this project out completely from start to finish, just taking my time and letting the blade do the work. Now we are doing the final and largest internal cut, which is the internal of the witch's hat at the top of the project, and it has several of those sharp V-turns in it, but since the material is thinner at around 1/2 inch in thickness, it's okay to just follow the cut line as long as you are comfortable over at the scroll saw. But after this cut is done, we will retension the blade and release the piece from the waste wood. But it will not be all of the scroll saw work, because we will have to come back in a little bit and make a backer board for the project. If you guys like what you're seeing, I would highly encourage you to subscribe to my channel and also follow me across all my social media feeds under the Artisan Pirate name. I'd really appreciate the support. Coming around the outside of the witch's hat, following that perimeter cut line, we will cut out the profile of the Halloween mouse here and come along the other side of that sign that's at the base of the project, and the piece will be released, and we'll head over to the workbench and remove the pattern and get our first visual. But then I'll take a washer and a pen on the 3/4 inch plywood here and trace around the scroll saw work to get a perfect backer board. And I usually use a pencil to trace this out with. I just used a pen in hopes that it would show up better on video for you guys. But then we will head over to the scroll saw and do the final bit of scroll saw work. And this is just one long continuous cut. And from this view, you see the angle that my scroll saw is set at. It reduces neck and shoulder strain to where I can sit at the scroll saw for hours on end in comfort and enjoy the scroll saw hobby. But now all the scroll saw work is complete, and we will sand everything nice and smooth with 180 grit Klingspor Woodworking Shop sandpaper and the vibrating palm sander. And I'm being very careful with the sanding here, being sure not to break or chip anything away. But after the sanding is done, I added some color with 2 shades of Minwax wood stain. I used the lighter shade on the big bulk of the scroll saw work here and wiped off the excess. And then I applied a darker stain to the backer board here, and I was really happy and pleased with how the grain popped once I wiped off all of the excess. But I set both these pieces aside to dry, and once they were dry, it was time to glue them together with medium grade CA glue and activator. And even though the CA glue basically dries instantly, I still like to use spring clamps here and a strip of wood to make sure that that piece grabs the backer board well. But after drying around 5 minutes, I came back and removed the clamps and the strip of wood and prepped for finishing. And for finishing, I gave the project several coats of Rust-Oleum clear gloss. And after it dried, the project was complete. And here we have the completed Happy Halloween design, cut out completely over on the scroll saw from start to finish, and it finished up fantastically. Thank you, Steve Good, for another great pattern from your pattern catalog. Once again, it's one of his newest pattern offerings from 2024, in case you guys would like to go and download it and try it for yourselves. Everything here came out nice and crisp. It only took me around 45 minutes to scroll the project out from start to finish. There is a lot of small and tedious and delicate cuts in this project, so I did what I always do, and I took my time and let the blade do the work, and I was as loyal as I could be to the cut line. And I hope the results in today's video speaks for themselves with how beautiful everything came out here. Of course, you can easily tell what everything is here. You have the words Happy Halloween with the little sign at the base. You have a Halloween mouse to the side. You have a Halloween skull here wearing the iconic witch's hat, which is appropriate for the Halloween season. But it all combines into a nice compact Halloween piece. And I finished it in my standard rustic finishing way. I applied a light Minwax wood stain to the 1/2 inch plywood that makes up the bulk of the scroll work, and then I applied a darker Minwax wood stain to the backer board, which is 3/4 inch upcycled construction grade plywood. And I also think plywood plays a part in a project like this if you want it to look as rustic and as spooky as possible, because it naturally has that rustic vibe for a fall or autumn or Halloween even themed project. So please keep that in mind. But of course, you can also by all means cut this out of exotic or hardwoods. You could go in here and paint everything if you wanted to do that. And keep in mind, I cut it out in a different way than Steve Good intended. When we showed the prepped project at the beginning of the video, it suggested 1/4 inch material, but of course I cut it out of thicker 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch plywood to just bulk it up a little bit visually. And that's just all up to an artist's interpretation of how you visually want to see the finished project once you get to the finishing stages. And I still think it came out great, but by all means you could cut it out of that thinner material. You could even just take the scroll saw work here and bulk it up to maybe 1 inch thick and cut it out to where it could easily freestand on a shelf, desk, or countertop, and maybe even add a nice decorative base to it. But the way I have finished it here, of course, as intended, a hook will be added to the back and it can be hung and displayed on the wall through the spooky Halloween season, and then it can go over to the scroll saw display wall out here in the workshop. But I'm really happy with how it finished up, and I want to speak briefly on the versatility of a scroll saw pattern itself. I always encourage people to think outside of the box when it comes to scroll saw patterns and really look at a pattern and how they want to bring it to life. And I'll use this project here as an example. If you wanted to just use, say, different portions of the pattern, you can do that. And what I'm talking about here is if you just wanted the skull and the witch's hat, you could easily freehand draw a line along the skull's jawline here and chin and just cut that portion out. If you didn't want to add the mouse to it, you could draw a line and remove him from the pattern. And if you just wanted to use the words Happy Halloween in this nice font that Steve offers at the bottom, you could of course take a straight edge and draw a line there and just cut that out. So a lot of options, lots of possibility, and lots of versatility with each and every scroll saw woodworking pattern you come across. So please, my friends, keep that in mind. But I'm really happy with how today's project finished up in this rustic finishing way that I like to do over here on the channel. And again, you can easily depict what everything here is. And again, I just love bringing Halloween projects to life because Halloween is my favorite season. Of course, I get to dress up during Halloween more times than any other time throughout the year as the pirate and go out in my community and put smiles on faces and make memories year after year after year, and I still love doing it to this day. So this is another project to add to that ever-growing Halloween collection, and I'm happy with how it turned out, and I hope you guys like watching me make today's video. If you're new to the channel, hopefully you'll click that subscribe button and also follow me across all my social media feeds under the Artisan Pirate name. As always, links to contact me as well as all my social media feeds will always be linked down in the description box below these videos. That's about all for this one, and remember guys, if I can make it or do it, so can you. I'm the Artisan Pirate. Take care. Stay spooky for Halloween, my friends. Take care, and I'll see you guys real soon.